2, 1. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. It has been another crazy week. We welcome you all to enjoy another fine episode of the Woolen Comedy Club presents the Hickory, the Drunk, and Under Quarantine show. We hope you're all healthy, safe. It's been another crazy week in this beautiful homeland of America we got here. We're going to talk about a few things. We're going to talk about a marching of a black separatist militia known as the NFAC, also known as the Not Fucking Around Coalition, or as my friends have been calling them, the Need Firearms classes. We're going to talk about Naked Athena, a lady who showed up naked and struck yoga poses at a protest in Portland. And we're going to talk about, I took a political compass survey and was very shocked at where I ended up. And lastly, we're going to bring up Walmart and mask wearing and how that has improved our Walmart experience so much since it's probably the highlight of Corona time, I must say. With that said, we're going to get right into this. Welcoming to the stage, the founder of the Woolen Comedy Club, a very good friend of mine, a very good friend of the show, and a very good friend of the Bridgewater community, the founder of also the community center in Bridgewater, and the man who turned Bridgewater into not a speed trap. Welcoming to the spotlight stage, our good friend, Mr. Collen Doyle.
Hey, how's everybody doing tonight? Great to be here broadcasting live from the Woolen Comedy Club. If you can see just above my shoulder, the Woolen Comedy Club is proud new owners of an industrial snow cone and cotton candy machine. So I'm looking forward to when we're able to have events and I share that with people and not just eat industrial quantities of cotton candy. Quarantine, let's talk about this a little bit. We've made some steps forward, some steps back, which I think is kind of something that our generation seems to be known for at this point, you know? For instance, Apple comes out with a Face ID, right? Wonderful new thing. We're going to be able to just check your face. Then we all have to wear a mask. And just puts a screeching halt to that technology. Another thing we shorted big time. We demanded, listen, don't keep using bags. Bring your own bag to the grocery store. And then we realized that our grocery bags are apparently Petri dishes, and we had to use disposable plastic ones. Put a lot of effort into getting rid of straws, which made a lot of sense. Straws are, of course, bad for the environment. And then we ran into another problem. How do you drink through a mask? Kind of bring in the straw back. But I think that the thing that sums up our, if you will, our generation's attempts on the one step forward, two steps back, is the LED bulb. Remember like a few years ago, I don't know what it is now, maybe 10 years ago, everyone was all in on the LED bulbs, right? They were like, we have to use, they weren't even LED, they were a gas bulb. They were like the spiral kind, and they were supposed to be really energy efficient. And then they found out that the gas that made the bulb illuminate was just like this incredibly toxic chemical that was like 1,000 times worse for the environment. So after we pumped all those bulbs and put them in the landfills, then we were like, our generation's like, that's great. You guys made an energy efficient light bulb. We love that. But you know what we love more? The way light bulbs looked 100 years ago when Edison did them. Now you go out to a restaurant and the lighting is exactly the way it was like 100 years ago, you know? Missing acting, can't wait for us to return to everyone be able to return to the stage and in front of the camera. New York has now just started, I believe this past week, opening up and allowing for some film. And it's funny because I've been acting for a while now. And I started acting when I was young, and you know, you have to learn all these like fancy tricks to make yourself cry, you know, emotional substitution and all these different things. And then you get a little older in life. You watch your friends die, you watch tragic things happen. And then it gets to a point where you're like, what do you need me to do? Cry? All right, roll the camera. Ready when you guys are. 5 months quarantine, just roll the damn thing. I'm ready to bawl my eyes out. Television is funny. I spent the weekend with, I call her my niece. It's my cousin's daughter, and she's nearing on 5, and we wanted to watch a movie. She's like, what's a good movie we can watch, and I'm looking at all the movies I own, and I'm like, she's still too young for Scarface. Probably The Godfather is going to be wasted on her. So I found Planet Earth, which is one of the things that I love, Planet Earth. And I'm sitting there thinking, this is something that's just, it's just about nature and the planet, and this would be a good thing for her to watch. So the first thing that we're watching is about the caribou and how the caribou moves in herds across the prairies in Canada. And then it shows how the wolves come out. And she's like, this is like literally 10 minutes into it, and the wolf starts coming across the prairie. She's like, what's that wolf going to do? And I'm like, I assume it's going to try to systematically attack and destroy the most vulnerable in the group, but we'll see what happens. Sure enough, this 175-pound wolf attacks this baby calf. And she's like, oh no, what's going to happen? I'm like, this was my idea of the innocent programming. And of course, you got to learn wolf's got to eat too. And sometimes wolf just needs to eat a baby cat. It's just the way the world goes. I watch a lot of stuff like that, a lot of that dorky kind of nerdy TV. I love Discovery Channel, I love History Channel. And I love these historical docs that end up hiring actors to do these substitutions in it, where there will be half documentary and then half live action. But it seems like they always cast the entirely wrong person for the role. They never really sound the way that you'd imagine them to sound. Give you an example, something about Einstein Einstein. What's his name? Epstein. Einstein was the Epstein of his day. You know what I mean? That's really what he was. But it'd be something about Einstein, on the History Channel years ago, and it'd be then. In 1940, Einstein made a brilliant discovery. I'd be yes, it was in 1940 that I first discovered the general theory of relativity. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say that's not what Einstein sounded like. It's funny because I like TV and I like entertainment, but sometimes it's that's lost on my parents, I feel a little bit. I'll give you a perfect example. Vermont comedian Carmen Lagala, who performs in New York City and resides in New York City now. She, performed in Vermont. I believe grew up in Vermont, and she performed here. And a really wonderful comedian. Got about a year or two ago opportunity to perform on Colbert. Of course, The Tonight Show, legendary spot as a comedian. It really doesn't get much higher than that than performing at The Tonight Show. And I told my mom, I was excited about this. And I said, Mom, you're not going to believe this. I said, Carmen Lagala just got The Tonight Show. And my mom went, is there more? No, Mom, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much all of it. What do you want me to say? She got The Tonight Show, and she's going to be the first woman in outer space. Isn't that crazy? Unbelievable. Girl's on a roll. But I think the world's definitely screwed up. Me, I've always been a minimalist. I've been living in a tiny house my entire adult life, or as I like to call it, the one-bedroom apartment. Way ahead of its time. I have an apartment in New York, an apartment here, and my initial plan was always to kind of rent when I was in New York, rent Vermont. When I was in Vermont, rent the apartment in New York, and all that's ended up equating to is me having 2 homes and being homeless. Am I gonna end up having a crash on my dad's couch? My parents be wake up in the morning and be like, Collen, why the hell are you sleeping here? Be like, I told you, Dad, I got nowhere else to go. All right. You have 2 places. God damn it, quit Airbnb-ing them. I'm gonna be like sleeping on a park bench. Someone's gonna be like, Collen, are you okay? Are you homeless? Be like, homeless? You kidding me? I'm working right now. And $200 a night. Are you done with this copy of the New York Times? I could use a little betting. But I don't know what's going to happen when things start to open back up, because things have like changed a lot, you know, like we've had a lot of changes recently. And before this was the Me Too movement, you know, and where I think we gained some social awareness. So like, I'm really afraid of like, what's going to happen when we like get back into the club, you know? I mean, it's like, whether or not I'm supposed to social distance or not, I was confused whether or not I was allowed to grind on a girl before this. You know what I mean? It's always been a little bit of a gray area. Like, is it cool if I do this? Or what's the dancing spacing here? Now it's just going to be me grinding from 6 feet away like I've been doing for the last 10 years. Yeah. But that's my week in reflection. It's great to have another week here. I'm gonna move this over to my associate in arms, Mr. G.W. Foley. G-Dub, how you doing, buddy?
Doing all right, man. Getting good grades. My future's so bright, I need to wear shades. Yes, it is week 14 of the Drunken Under Quarantine show, and I'm happy to announce I am still not wearing pants. Yes, I had a thought outside earlier when I was smoking a cigarette going, come autumn, this whole thing is probably going to have to change, and I'm going to have to throw on some sort of pant. I don't know what I'm going to do. Being pantsless has been such a big piece of my personality lately that just the idea of throwing on pants makes me kind of break out in hives. So I don't know. Maybe I'll go shorts all winter. That seems like a decent compromise. I could be like one of those assholes during every blizzard going, oh, the snow's not that bad. I lived in Minnesota where it was negative 20 degrees out. Walking around in a tank top, just showing my man tits everywhere. That's, oh, hey, you want to see a snowman? Look, it's Mickey Mouse. I did a super adult thing, guys. I was so excited. The wife and I bought a bed. And I don't know if you've ever been bed shopping, but it's the grossest thing ever. Because here's the deal. It's not like test driving a car where, like, yeah, maybe you're sitting on some place where someone else farted. You're literally lying down on a spot where countless millions has also laid down and contemplated the same thing of, like, wonder what it's like to have sex in this thing. It's one of those things where, like, you just have to reflect. I'm like, did the last guy shower when he was testing this thing out? And what if he had like shit on his shoes? Because and then like I got self-conscious. I'm like, what if I have shit on my shoes? And was then like lying like sideways with my feet off the bed in a position where I never sleep like that. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is comfy as I'm like doing like a human pretzel on this whole like gross mattress. We finally decided on a mattress, and then the mattress guy decided, good guy, his name's Logan. Not that matters. I could be making that up. I'm not. But he decided to have a conversation with us as we're wearing face masks and asking us like really intense questions of like, so how long do you think you're going to keep this mattress? Like looking for another sale later down the road. I'm like, well, as long as we can keep it. Well, just remember the warranty is only good for 10 years. I'm like, all right, buddy, if you're here in 11 years, I will come back and see you. I hope that somewhere in your life you move on from the mattress store and, I don't know, become a shoe salesman. That seems like progress. But my problem with the whole conversation was we're doing it wearing like these cotton masks where I understand that there's a plague going on. But quite frankly, I could have just taken it off and stood 6 feet away from them and been fine. Like I don't want the hot breath of like my nastiness of coffee and cigarettes breath going back into my face. Like I'd rather have it go into someone else's face and let them deal with it. Because this is America, God damn it. Lost my train of thought there. Super pissed. I made a purchase online of some comic books. I got 150 comic books, just random comic books. Bought a comic book lot, which for people who aren't into comic books go, holy shit, that's a lot of comic books. As a guy who's into comic books, I'm like, that's not even a drop in a hat. As a guy who has like over 1,000 comic books at his mom's house, having 150 dropped off at my door was just a drop in the bucket. But I was looking through them earlier because I didn't know what I was getting. And I was pissed because I noticed that I had 3 duplicates of comic books that I already bought. And my thought was, how anal am I? Like 147 brand new to me comic books that I've never received before, and 3 of them, I already have. I was pissed and wanted to send the entire thing back, just going, fuck it. No, I don't want this trash. Take these 3 comic books and burn them all. I didn't, and now they're sitting in my living room and with my wife just going, why the fuck are you buying comic books in bulk? And I don't have an answer for her other than I was lonely and needed something to do. But anyways, that was my week, guys. Coming up next to the stage is the host of the show and one hell of a drunk who's quite honestly underwhelming. Let's give it up for Hickory, the drunk and underwhelming.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Ryan Hickory, the drunk and underwhelming. Tonight, I'll perform a small feat of magic for you all. I will start by making a prediction. Made a prediction. I took this here red card, stick it in that envelope, set my hat on top of it. That's like a scientific control to make sure I didn't get in there somehow. What I'm going to do is I'm going to riffle through here, and if GW would be so kind to just stop me. We're going to select a random card. We're going to see how I did with my prediction. Are you ready, sir?
Yes. Stop.
Right there? You want to go another or?
Nope.
That one?
That one.
Okay, we'll get back to that at the end. Okay, now I am going to go through and I'm going to ask if Ben, you wouldn't mind selecting a card for us, sir. You say stop whenever you feel comfortable.
Stop.
That one good for you?
Yes.
Yep. You got a joker. That's awesome. What we're going to do, Ben, is since it would be unfair if I asked you for your name, I'm going to ask you for a name that I wouldn't know or wouldn't grab right off the top of my head. And that way I can write that name on this card and make it a little more, I don't know, like an authentic signature.
So just a name, a more like random name?
It could be any noun, man. A place, a person, a thing.
Okay, truck.
I'll give it a big capital T. Color the T in there. That way you can see that, right? There's no way that there's like another card that's a joker that has Trump written on it like that. Do a little
Oh, I
squiggly,
meant.
squiggly down there. I'm not saying that there's not another person referring to Trump as a joker, but saying that is pretty fair.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the Trump card, stick it down in the middle of the deck. Now I'm going to pull out. No, whoops. Yeah, don't tell the beautiful assistant I had those either. Okay, but we got or as we in the industry like to refer to them as clown condoms. What I'm gonna do. Now, this is an old famous bit, originally made famous by a very famous magician by the name of David Copperfield. As you can see, shit rolls downhill. What I'm going to attempt to do is I'm going to stick this pack of cards in this balloon. Well, and there we have a deck of cards in a balloon. So the next logical conclusion, I guess, would be to blow it up. So, for those of you at home and also on the show, be forewarned that sometimes there's a lot of pop, and I just don't want anybody to be scared, because it's most likely that I'm the scared one. But as you guys can see, there's clearly a deck of cards in that one, right? It's like pretty clear.
Yeah.
What I'm going to attempt to do is, out breaking this balloon, I'm going to reach in there and I'm going to pull out Ben's trump card. You ready?
Oh shit.
Nice.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, what I will do, reach in here, grab both of them. Grab those cards, show you guys that there's nothing else in there, just in case you, for some reason, thought I was cheating. And so I made a red prediction. I had GW select a red card. The red prediction. The 6 of hearts. Are you ready, G-Dubs?
Yes.
Your prediction, sir?
Dude.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Hickory the Drunken Underwhelming. I'm glad that I'm here weekly to share with you your daily dose of magic. Remind you what it might feel like to be a kid just once without all those worries weighing down on you. Sorry, that was far too deep. I am not drinking enough. To keep this show on the road, I'd like to introduce our special guest of the evening. He's a very funny man. He actually has writing credits for MTV. He's a good friend of the show by Mr. Matt Vita. Well, I don't know how good of friends you guys are, but I'm going to pretend you are since he suggested you're the first name on his list. So I'd assume you guys have a connection. But welcoming to our spotlight stage on the Drunken Under Quarantine show, please welcome Mr. Ben Kirshenbaum.
Woo!
Hey, thank you so much. Thank you for having me on the show. No, I was just laughing that it was that I wasn't a friend. I was just a friend of a friend. Just in case this doesn't go well, there's a person in between. You know, this is not a direct relationship. I've been in New York and all the gyms are closed. I don't know about Vermont. All the gyms are closed here. And I went running for the first time in like 20 years. And I told my friend, and my friend's like, "Oh, why'd you go running? It's so boring." And it's like, yeah, running is only boring if you're in shape. If you're not, if you're hyperventilating, you're occupied. There's no way about, my friend's like, "Oh, do you listen to a podcast or music?" And it's like, no, I go into cardiac arrest. That's how I stay. No one ever yawned during a heart attack is the idea that I'm, trying to get across to you. I don't know. I feel like now with Corona, they've figured out, with the masks and stuff, we have a little bit more knowledge of how it spreads and things like that. At the beginning, it was a shit show. At the beginning, you would get information from like bloggers with agenda, not even scientists, and they would write things like, rule number 1, don't touch your face. Rule number 2, don't make out with my ex-girlfriend. Rule number 3, if you see my ex-girlfriend, touch her face. All right, she tore my heart out of my chest. Just do that. I don't know. I actually realize it's a very lonely time right now. I actually feel like I kind of miss my ex-girlfriend. We broke up for whatever reason, but I miss her. And I want to get over her. I'm not one of these people who wants to like wallow. I want to move on. I want to find a new girlfriend. Mainly because in movies, it's when you move on and get a new girlfriend that the old one comes back. That's the best part. And then you have to choose. You have to choose between the new girl. I'm going to choose my ex-girlfriend. It's not even a close, I don't even know this other person. But why would I choose someone who I don't even know? That's, what else is going on? I wanted to talk about statues, right? All the statues coming down, whether the statue should come down, stuff like that. Obviously, a lot of people want the statues down of the Confederate generals, and there's some pushback on the other side. I think that there is a compromise here, which is that you get rid of Robert E. Lee and you leave the horse. Horse never did anything. You leave the horse with a plaque underneath that says, "I was just following orders." That's what you do. You just put that down. Or you say, it's Seabiscuit. Who gives a fuck? Who's going to know the difference? Just say, just don't waste the marble. That's all I care about. It's just not. But I think it's good. I mean, I think that the social change stuff is good. Changing the name of the Washington football team is good. I actually don't even think the Redskins part was the most offensive part. I think the most offensive part is that anyone who sells tickets outside the stadium is a Redskins scalper. I think that goes the extra mile, does it not? But you should obviously get rid of Redskins. That's a slur. That's got to go. You should get rid of the Cleveland Indians, though, too. It's insane to name a team after a race. The only other example I can think of is the Fighting Irish, right? The Notre Dame team. It's like 100 years ago, they were thinking of what you can do for team names. And someone raised their hand and was like, well, you can't do a race, right? You can't name it after a race. And then someone else was like, well, what if that race has a history of alcoholism? And then they were like, okay, yes, that's the exception. Yes, that's the loophole there. They're not going to remember it in the morning. You know what I'm saying? That's the fair way to go. But they're getting rid of the statues. I mean, getting rid of the Columbus statues too. I don't know. I mean, for his treatment of Native Americans. To me, Columbus is like incest, right? Like, it's disgusting, but it's why, if you go back far enough, it's why we're here. Like, there's just, you gotta, I'm not saying accept it. I'm just saying it's a fact. I don't know how else to put it. Speaking of incest, actually, Collen, you were mentioning Einstein. I read this thing recently that Einstein was married to his cousin and then cheated on her consistently throughout the marriage. And that's one of like you would think that if you're marrying your cousin, that you're into it.
Yeah.
Like you're not doing it for appearances' sake. It's not. No one married their cousin to help their reputation. You know, like it's not. What? Why else are you? The thing is that like Einstein was Jewish. I'm Jewish. That's a very Jewish mom move. That's who influenced Einstein. I know that because like for a Jewish mom, it is more important to be married, even if it's to your cousin, than to be single at 30. That's not even a clip. I mean, my parents would completely set me up with relatives. That was not like a part. Like I could picture my mom being like, "Do you remember, Rachel from your bar mitzvah?" And it's like, "Mom, that's my cousin," and she's like, "Just go on one date with her. What's the worst? Just one. If you don't like her, she has a sister. So just." All right. Thank you again for having me. This is super fun. Can't wait for the next part of the show. Thanks a lot.
Well, thank you for being here, sir. We really appreciate it, especially on such short notice. It's good to have you here.
Of course.
Ben, thank you for coming out. And thank you to Collen and GW for coming out for another week. Week 14 of the Hickory the Drunk and Under Quarantine show.
Boy, does time fly when you're under quarantine.
Although Collen neglected to bring it up, this is the first week I think you have not brought up what day of quarantine we are currently under still.
This is
which
true.
has got to be like almost 100, right?
I think we're like gotta be well over 100. I think we got to be like 120 in, something like that.
And we are 60 days into civil unrest across the nation.
Maybe
which we'll be talking about shortly. The first subject I wanted to bring up tonight was I don't know if you guys saw that there was a a march, two militias marched side by side in God, I can't remember where it was. I think somewhere
Louisville,
yes. The NFAC, also known as the Not Fucking Around Coalition, is a 6,000 member black separatist militia. And then also the 3%ers, which are like the, I don't know, I guess the normal militia guys, as normal as anybody in the militia could be. The normal militia guys, yes, thank you, GW. I appreciate the air quotes. The normal militia guys showed up as well. And they happened to have people were very concerned this past weekend. It was on Saturday, that there might be conflict between the two. But it turns out that there was only one, possibly two negligent discharges during the event, which is pretty incredible considering you had 10,000 people walking around strapped up with their tactical gear on. But it has turned out that the NFAC has had a couple of negligent discharges, which resulted in members of their own militia being injured during this protest. Which has raised many people online to say that NFAC should stand for needs firearm classes, which has personally been my view on our entire country since I turned 21. I just wanted to turn it over to you guys and say, if you had to give NFAC another name with those initials, anything come to mind as far as or any thoughts on the transpiring over the weekend? I know I watched a couple hours of live stream just to see what was going on down there.
This is what I would say is I actually like the slogan, not fucking around. This is something I could get behind.
I agree.
But to me, when you go to Louisville, if you're going to say you're not fucking around in Louisville, you got to go with the Louisville Slugger, right? Anybody can shoot a bunch of people with a high magazine gun. If you're not fucking around, you use a bat. You know what I'm saying? That's what I want to see. You want to see civil discharge? Some guy's laying there with broken knees, and he's like, "Hey, and I got my $50 back." That's the not fucking around way,
I agree. They're not taking advantage of the Louisville thing enough. The bats are good. I think Rick Pitino's got to be leading the way. You get out Rick Pitino. I know he's white. It doesn't make much sense. But the Slugger and Rick Pitino are the only things anyone knows about Louisville. and you got to represent the city. That's the only.
Or are you fucking around?
Yeah, no, exactly. You don't embrace the rich history of Louisville, bats and head coaches, then you are still fucking around. You don't live up to your name.
As someone who has been to Louisville, there's much more than just bats and not fucking around. There's actually quite a bit of fucking around. And Colonel Sanders' wife's restaurant is there. Like, come on. I want to know where they ate afterwards. Like, did they all get together and go like, oh, hey, let's go to Papa John's and get a pop?
Time to fuck around.
Yeah. Our march is over. Let's fuck around now.
I would premise that they found a Chick-fil-A. And because, hear me out here, that Chick-fil-A has placated both sides. Previously, Chick-fil-A was known as a right-wing anti-SJW, pro-nuclear family Christian organization. And about 3 weeks ago, the CEO of Chick-fil-A was on TV washing the feet of members of BLM and apologizing to them. So I think Chick-fil-A's they figured out how to play both sides of the fence here. So that's my thought as to where they went to eat.
I just want to know who's watching that video and jerking off. Like, it's on the internet, so someone must be doing it. He's like, oh yeah, wash those feet, Daddy. Wash those feet.
I want to know if he washed them in Chick-fil-A sauce.
What was the logic of this? Like, I've heard of people shining shoes, but like he's like, take the shoe off. We're gonna go right for the feet.
I think it's
yeah,
not
no, that
fucking
does
around, sir. It's getting straight to the root.
No, that's
right?
definitely. I agree. That's some Tarantino fetishy shit going on there. That's not.
I mean,
yeah.
I think this guy thought BLM way before even he's like sitting there like, yes, but everyone wants me to play like the evil chicken companies that doesn't like black people. Nobody respects me and just wanting to watch people's feet.
It's true. It's really overcompensated. Like, you get a bad reputation with the left, right, with all the anti-gay stuff, and it's like, how can I make up for this? Maybe I should blow every black person. Maybe that's the balance.
I was just bummed that they didn't add a dark meat option to their menu. like
I was pushing for the dog meat years ago.
I personally am a thigh guy through and through. And as a thigh guy, I'd like to see a chicken thigh sandwich show up on the Chick-fil-A menu. I don't know about you guys, but I'm sick of all this white meat.
I'm not picky, man.
I'm a bit of a breast guy myself.
Okay, that's fair. You know, it
Yeah,
takes all types to make the world go round, is what I hear.
Give me legs.
Speaking of all types, I thought I'd bring this up. Over the past weekend, I believe, maybe in the past week and a half, but it didn't roll in until this past week. So it's on this week's episode of the show, is that there's a very lovely lady who is protesting up in Portland, who has affectionately been known by as Naked Athena. And I thought I might ask the panel what their thoughts on this were. What had happened was, and there's some very beautiful articles written about this. I think it was the Washington Post referred to her as an apparition that appeared through a cloud of tear gas. and so what happened is there's this cloud of tear gas, and they had dispersed a crowd, and this tiny little white girl walks through this cloud of tear gas, and she is just butt naked, no clothing whatsoever, and she strikes a couple of yoga poses. She's about 15 from the photos. I'm trying to deduce this. I'd say maybe you guys could argue with me, but 15 to 20 feet back from like the police line.
I thought you were gonna say 15 years old. I'm like, whoa! I looked at those pictures. I don't know.
No, but she's probably like, I'm going to say 20, 22, somewhere in there is my guess. She's like 15, 20 feet back from the police line and fully naked and just decides to strike some yoga poses. And then she sits down and just sits there open-legged in front of the officers. And while many thought this was very brave, many of my friends kept commenting that you couldn't pay me enough to sit naked on the streets of Portland. I figured I'd toss this over to you guys and see if you guys had any input, if you had seen it, if you had what you thought.
I'm really hoping that at least one of the police officers tried doing a bet with the other one, being like, $5. $5 says you can't hit her cooter with a pepper ball. Like, just aim and fire. Let's liven this party up.
Well, I would say, to me, this wasn't brave, right? This wasn't brave because some of us have been doing naked yoga in tear gas in the middle of the street, worried about being beat up by the police for a long time. All right. Welcome to the club, sweetheart. Okay. This is something that has been going on a lot longer than she's been doing it. Okay. And for me, when I'm trying to find my chi, there's nothing like being surrounded by police brutality that just really just centers me, mixing that some, tear gas or something else that really sets the eye and face on fire. And you're really experiencing something that I think coming out of the end of your flow, I think you're gonna be a little bit more loosened up, I have to say.
That was a poor choice of words. Losing the coming out of your flow. That's gross, man.
I just don't think it's very intimidating. I mean, like, aren't you trying to like I guess maybe like a police officer is like turns to the other one and is like, this is not very intimidating, and the guy responds like, oh no, she's doing Warrior One. And you're like, oh fuck, that's a downward dog, motherfucker. She means business. That's I don't know. Also, what is more perfect than a woke person fighting while misappropriating Indian culture? It's just just a white girl pretending, oh, my chi and all that shit. Oh, ring the gong. It's like, all right, you took a class.
Here's my question. My question is, I thought there was like 1,000 moms marching with the protesters during this time. So you would think that at least one of those moms would have pulled her by the ear and said, Missy, put some clothes back on.
Well, what I think happened, G-Dubs, is that, once the tear gas hit, those moms hightailed it the fuck out of there. Like, all the sane people left. Like, as soon as tear gas canisters start flying, I imagine that most people that assume that they are sane are just like, fuck this. Like, I'm out.
Yeah.
And then you're left with whoever decided that tear gas is appropriate state. That's my stance. I mean, I don't know. I live in the middle of nowhere. So there's not exactly tear gas cans flying around my neighborhood.
Yet.
Yeah, that's true. See where this goes. I did want to read out a tweet that got sent out in the group message of my family, which made me smile a lot. My people made sure that we saw this, and I'm not sure who tweeted this, and who cares, but the tweet caught me, and I had to share this on the show, and I'm gonna have to edit it a little bit just to make sure I don't cross any lines. He said, and this was about the Naked Athena incident. The tweet says, "It's so strange watching these people live in these grand illusions where they believe that they're making these earth-shattering, almost divine acts of defiance that transcends all. When in reality, normal people just see some nasty woman slap her S word on the asphalt like roadkill." And I was like, that summed it up perfect to me. is that a lot of people were seeing this as some sort of act of defiance, and all I saw was some naked girl laying on the nastiest street or sitting on the nasty streets of Portland. All I could think was,
Yeah, I don't buy that she really cares about the I think she's just upset that workout classes are closed. And she's just like, well, I may as well.
It's like, well, this is the only place where I'm going to get
it.
to, actually get 6 feet of distance is in a cloud of tear gas. So I might as well just rock out my yoga here.
But the thing is, you got to think about it. I mean, like back in the Vietnam War, men, set themselves on fire. I can't remember the spirituality that they subscribed to. They set themselves on fire. In 2020, some poor woman set her vag on the sidewalk of Portland. And I am not sure what is worse. I couldn't find gasoline, so I just took my panties off, and I figured this would be torture enough,
I feel bad for the street because we don't know what kind of venereal disease is now on the street.
Street could be COVID positive at this point. We don't know.
I was thinking the next poor peaceful protester who gets his face put on that ground by that Fed, it's just gonna be like, wow, the street smells really weird.
Is that third base? Is that?
It kind of smells like Athena.
It smells like this weird combination of Greek goddess and pepper spray.
They should bottle this and make it an Axe combination.
Are they still making
Venus's
freezer?
We should make it a candle.
Send the idea off to Gwyneth Paltrow. She'll hop right on that. Who doesn't need a candle this smells like pepper balls riots in my vagina?
Yeah. What is that? Portland raw garbage?
Oh,
this is what a West Coast city smells like. It's not just like sour
With
milk
a hint.
like they do on the East Coast.
Yeah. Is that a hint of an artisanal donut? Is that
it's fair trade coffee and sniz.
Other topics I wanted to bring up. I recently took a political compass test, which I to explain to our viewers out there. Basically, Ben, I convinced Ben to take one just before the show. So I had a fellow reference. Basically, like 25 to 30 questions, you'd say, Ben? It's broken out into 6 separate categories. It was politicalcompass.org or .com. And it's pretty easy to find. You just political compass into the Google machine and click on the first page, go answer the questions, see where you fall. And basically it comes up as a graph, and it's a 20 by 20 square, and there's left and right, and then authoritarian and libertarian. And basically on this graph you can plot every single person across the board's political affiliation. And they've almost proven this by having there's like a graph on their site that you can see that encompasses minds from all across the spectrum. You've got it's got Stalin on there, it's got Hitler on there, it's got MLK on there, and you have all these different political affiliations, and you can kind of see where it lands up. I came out at plus 1.5 on the left, which shocked the hell out of me and my friends. So I figured I'd see if you guys had taken a political compass test, if maybe you guys take one and we bring it up next week. Because I found it was so shocking that I sent the results off to friends like as soon as it happened. And my friends looked at me and were like, yeah, I think you need to retake that.
I've actually taken a couple of them over the past few years, and I'm very consistent on the being libertarian function.
Yep.
But I can drift from like 2 points to the left to the right, depending on the day. If it's near tax time, I'm definitely towards the right. if it's around, I don't know, June or 420, I'm definitely towards the left. Like, really depends on the fact.
Here's what I'll say about. So I took the quiz too. The thing about this quiz is that the stakes are so much higher. Like if you take some bullshit BuzzFeed quiz, like what Disney princess are you? And you're like, oh, I really want to get Ariel, but instead I got Belle. It's like, all right, who cares? Whatever. This one is like, if you don't do it right, it's like you are Hitler. Like, you are.
By the way, you could be Stalin if you fuck up.
Oh, Stalin is reasonable. Not many people know this.
I was shocked when I looked at the graph because I've always had all these people tell me that Hitler was far right. And like that's always been since I was a little kid. And I finally pull up this graph and no, like Hitler is a 10 on the authoritarian scale. But no, he's like only like 3 points over on the right.
He's a moderate. He's a moderate.
He's an authoritarian moderate who
right in the middle.
Who hates anybody who isn't
Hitler
white.
was an enigma though, wasn't he? He like studied art in like Vienna, and like he's like the world's so beautiful. Like just it's like what else did he do? His whole thing with art and all that stuff was bizarre,
Vegetarian.
Yeah. And then just my day job though, I'm not like my day job. I like painting, I like drinking tea, I like being a vegetarian like you. It just I happen from 9 to 5 have to exterminate the Jews. It's just what I do for a living. We can get beyond that. I'm not just my job.
On a side note, away from Hitler, can you imagine how hard it must have been to be a fucking vegetarian back in the early 1940s? Like that alone must have taken some serious effort.
Well, imagine being Charlie Chaplin and having this wonderful mustache that everyone thinks is hilarious.
Hey, what? It worked for Jordan. Jordan brought it back.
I say,
but that shows even Jordan got shit for it. If that's how bad the Hitler mustache is, that even
I'm like, you guys know
the
why
guy who just
that,
got
right?
a 10-part series.
It's kind of strange though. By the end of it, all of a sudden, it's Jordan's the uber capitalist who becomes a billionaire, and they just kind of happens to have a Hitler stash at the end. It's like, why do you have $1 billion? Scottie Pippen doesn't know if he can afford rent. And you have a Hitler stash, Michael. I don't know how this document.
Hey, man, Nazis buy Nikes too, man. Nazis buy Nikes.
Nazis got to run too.
You guys, on a completely side note, you guys know why Hitler had that little tiny mustache?
Because he had a hair lip.
Oh, that's a good guess, but no.
It was because of Chaplin.
Wasn't it? It was because of Chaplin, yeah.
No, so what happened was when he took power, he actually had like a full mustache at one point. And what happened is when he took power, they basically were like, hey, if you are going to be the leader of this country, like you need a gas mask is very, very important. And you need to be able to fit in a gas mask and you need that shit to seal on your face. And your mustache is getting in the seals of the gas mask and creating a little airflow between the mask and your face. And so they were basically like, here's what's going to happen. You're either going to shave your upper lip or you're not going to be able to take this position. And Hitler just... And
Hitler said, you won't know what my upper lip looks like.
I'm just going to trim it down a little. And unbeknownst to him, he created a hairstyle, a mustache style that's still 80 years later is still, the
we might have to do a little fact checking on that one.
At least he ruined like a goofy form of facial hair. Like, what if he had what if he ruined like scruff?
Yeah.
That would have been terrible.
So back to that, so on the left, I'm at negative 1.75. And on the libertarian authoritarian scale, I'm a negative 1.79. So I am, I'm like 2 points to the left and 2 points to the libertarian side, which
I'm going to
surprised me.
take this test and they're going to be like, you came back Tommy Chong.
It's like, this guy just wants to sell bongs and not be bothered about
Yeah,
it.
just was that nice little bong business, dude.
I can't believe I'm more libertarian than you.
That's pretty crazy, right?
Yeah.
Because I was under
I'm
the
now gonna
impression
get fired from my job.
I feel
I
like
was
this
under the
is like-
impression that I was like far, far, far to the right and far, far, far to the libertarian side.
this is like myancestry.com though, when like white supremacists find out they're black, you know? They're like, wait, what happened here? It's like all of a sudden, like all these like super like right-wing conservatives are gonna be like, actually, believe it or not, you were left-leaning. You're like, shit, I've been duped.
Get another pair of truck nuts on my truck.
Just
Get two
taking
pairs
the
of
thing and
dangles.
just like taking the thing and seeing that you're like way too left, and it's like, oh crap, I guess I'm gay.
Yeah, I didn't realize I was a snowflake and a queer.
Time to get a Yaris and suck some dick.
No, it is. I did a quick fact check. It is referred to as the toothbrush mustache, not necessarily the Hitler stash. It has its own name. And yeah, you guys can go read on Wikipedia whether or not
Chaplin must have had the
Wikipedia's
mustache before Hitler, because Chaplin was way early on.
which is probably
Right.
what I think that
We can't
reason-
credit it to Hitler. We got to credit it to like Chaplin.
agreed. But the reason that Hitler went to that stash is because of the gas mask,
Yes.
not because he thought that Chaplin was great, which he is.
Right.
Or that
Oh.
he thought that it would like win favor over with the Americans or anything. But
Yeah.
turns out it was practicality. Sometimes you got to make sure a gas mask fits snug.
Oh, how do we win favor with these Americans? They know I hate the Jesse Owens, but they got the Chaplin.
Was Chaplin a Jew?
No, this is but the only reason why I know it is because Chaplin was not a Jew, but he was quoted as saying, "I don't have the honor." And so the
Okay.
only reason why I know that is that all Jews are obsessed with Chaplin because he said that. Like, I don't even think they like his movies. I think they just, it's like, oh, what a guy.
Yeah, he
that
didn't
guy.
have the honor we had. That's true.
Yeah. Oh my God. I don't give a shit if he's eating a shoe or whatever, but what a guy.
Getting towards the end, I want to do some final tie-ups on stuff. Colin, I think you mentioned earlier during your segment that you thought you didn't know if we'd have to respond with the 6-foot rule at clubs, and to be honest, I think at nightclubs it would be a welcome addition if anybody followed the 6-inch rule. But that would lower the capacity, and then the bouncer would have to be even bigger of a dick, and yeah, that would be interesting. I think Ben, I think horse statues, I think that's a phenomenal idea, that we should just leave statues of fucking horses everywhere. And not even good ones, just chop the fucking top of the statue off. So it has like legs on it still.
Yeah. I mean,
And I guess we're right at the end, so we're gonna follow up soon. But since you brought up the Redskins, I wanted to ask, my personal opinion has been that they should change their name to the Pigskins. Not only because a football is made of pigskin, but also to show that somebody in this country gives a shit about our police. And maybe it's like one of the worst teams in the league, but like whatever, they're out there in their blue uniform with their Blue Lives Matter across the back.
Oh, that's amazing.
And that way we can just unify and still fucking hate them.
And
What
how
do you guys-
and how funny would it be to see a team of like 300+ pound black men just blow it right through the fucking pigskins?
That would be amazing if the Redskins owner was like, if he pulled that prank. He's like, fine, I'll appease the left. I won't call them the Redskins anymore. We're now the Washington, Reagans. Or whatever,
I saw there was a great Onion article put out right when the announcement was made that they were going to change their name, and the Onion's headline read, "Washington Redskins decide to change their name after years of controversy and being hated for it, and they've decided to change their name to the DC Redskins." Like, cheers, Onion. That's you nailed that fucker right on the nose. We've hit an hour. Does anybody have Ben, any closing comments? Anything you'd like to finish up with before we call this a night, my friend?
No, this was so much fun, guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Cheers, sir. Thank you for coming out. We appreciate having you here. We'd definitely like to have you again in the future. This has been cool.
Oh yeah, anytime.
Where can we find you? Where can our followers find you online, my friend?
Twitter, I guess, would be the main, the one that I use the most.
Okay.
Just my name. I couldn't get a good handle. It's just my name, which is already hard, but instead of the M at the end of my last name, it's a 1. So, good luck.
Makes it sound even.
Ben Kirshenbaum 1, if you know.
Ben, now last week, I don't use Twitter. I got no Twitter pull, but I got actually a couple friends that are at Twitter that I probably should reach out to. We got 2 things we got to straighten out with this Twitter business, and you can call me the new department of not fucking around. Number 1, we got to change the M in your name from the 1 back to the M. That shouldn't be that hard. All right? You got billions of dollars, Twitter. Let's straighten this whole, what we're going to call a hashtag, call it the Kirshenbaum. Screwed up now. Second thing is, Kevin McTaggart, our good friend McTaggart Attack, I think he's got 60,000 followers, and he is not blue checked yet. So we got to tell Twitter to step their game up on that. So now that's a 2-part thing that we got to do with Twitter. Not fucking around. Here we go.
I don't take a stand for many things other than beers and decks of cards, but I will say that I will stand behind hashtag blue check Kevin.
Yes. And I'm going to work on your hashtag, Ben.
I appreciate it. Listen, they can change the name of the Redskins. They can.
I agree. G-Dubs, anything wrapping up?
Follow me at Foley Kills everywhere.
Parler, Twitter, YouTube, maybe.
Instagram.
Yeah, there we go. Facebook. Add G-Dubs as a friend on Facebook.
Yes.
And I will say in closing, somebody please follow the Hickory the Drunken Underwhelming page. I am at 99, and I'd really like to crest that hill of 100. And thank you everybody for coming out. We really appreciate all the support you've given us for over the past 14 weeks. And we will continue this until we can all sit together in a live studio, or until people hate the show so much we stop doing it. And it becomes a spiteful hate fest just for me to sit here an hour a week and tell you how much I hate modern culture. So with that said, thank you all for joining us at the Woolen Mill Comedy Club presents the Hickory the Drunken Under Quarantine show. I would implore you all, please, another crazy week of unrest, of quarantine, of no live entertainment other than certain states who don't care about you, is that I hope you all manage to stay safe, to stay drunk. Most importantly, stay underwhelming. Thank you, everybody.